guys, I'm Becky with All Aspects Restored and Recycled in Mount Bethel, Pennsylvania. And today we're working with Wise Owl paint and Redesign with Prima transfers. We've been working on this sideboard. We actually did a series of 3 videos that you can find on our YouTube page at All Aspects Restored and Recycled. So you see how we prep this piece prior to painting it. So this color that we've used is Wise Owl paint Prussian blue, and actually love the color. It's a nice blue green, and on the sides, which is hard to see quite yet because we have transfers lined up, but we have used the gold dust heavy metals, which is on the hardware. It was really old hardware, so we took the knobs off, and the hinges were on there pretty good, so we decided to paint them. And this old girl is going to get a complete transformation and some nice detail using the transfers. And then we have some great gold hardware that we're going to finish it off with. So what our goal today is to show you guys how we can use the transfers to just add some detail to your piece. We're going to use the Redesign with Prima, the Wondrous Floral Transfer. So what we really want to talk about is kind of using the bits and bobs. So we tend here at our store to cut the transfers up a lot. We're asked a lot how you line them up, how you merge them together. And so really we tend to cut them up and use them really creatively, how it fits our piece. So this transfer comes in 3 sheets. So 3 of these, which you can see I've already cut up. So there's 3 of these, and we've actually used this. I love this transfer. We thought that flowers would be a great addition to this piece. Here in Pennsylvania, we got about 2.5 feet of snow, and it's out there snowing again. So what better thing to work with than flowers and think about the spring. But so here we've used this transfer before with begonia, and there's a picture of it in full on our All Aspects Restored and Recycled Instagram page, so you can see how you can use it in full with the 3 sheets. And today we're not going to do that though. Today we've cut it all up. So put this here. What I mean by cut it up is just that. We tend to use these cardboard, we cut up our cardboard boxes, and this is a great tip to use like old cardboard tape. Robin just shared, that works here, that has my camera right now, shared a great tip too that you can also staple them on. So with this transfer, again, you can line up all 3 and put it how you wanted, but it didn't really work with this piece. So I love this transfer, I love the colors, I love the flowers, but the 3 rows of it didn't quite work with it. So I'm cutting up where I feel it would look good here, and we're going to do another one over here as well. And what we want to do is show you how you don't have to use the whole thing, but you can save it for later. So as I was cutting it out, I was taping the extra pieces, you know, to a piece of cardboard because we're going to use these later. And at the end of the video, I'll show you a couple examples of pieces that we've used our, as we call them, bits and bobs, our extras, you know, on. So we're going to keep this to the side. So just kind of some fun tips and tricks to mention to you guys. So this is, like I said, is painted with the Wise Owl chalk synthesis paint. The Wise Owl paint is a clay-based mineral paint. Mineral paints by nature, the chalk style paints by nature are porous, so it's smart to let your piece, you know, fully dry and have some cure time, you know, for at least 24 hours. So this piece has dried overnight. It's nice and dry. It's ready for us to apply our transfer. And then everything that I show you really is going to be kind of like our best practices. You'll probably hear different things, you know, along the way from different videos that you watched and whatnot. But so this is just really what we do here, what works for us. A lot of trial and error, a lot of having fun, a lot of just being creative. So this is my little Prima toolbox, as I would call it. So this is things I like to have on hand whenever I'm working with a transfer. I honestly think that I got this at the Dollar General. I think it's for holding utensils for barbecues. So it's a great thing to have your tools for when you're doing a transfer. So things I like to have on hand, always scissors, again, because we're cutting it out and using it based on how it fits our piece. Painter's tape. I have some X-Acto knives. These are going to be my favorite, these little razor blades. There is 2 drawers here, so we are going to have a part here in the middle that we have to slice, and maybe around here, and then like I said, we're going to put another one here. So having a razor blade on hand is really key. Every one of your transfers in this Wonders Floral is 24 inches by 35 inches. So again, obviously we're not using all of it. Each one of them will come with a set of directions and one of these painter sticks. So, I'm sorry, transfer sticks. And I apologize, I'm sniffling. Like I said, it's pretty cold here in PA. So, and then this is the Redesign by Prima transfer tool. It tends to be my favorite. There's 2 sides. There's a smaller side when you're working in smaller areas, and then you have the bigger side. So I tend to use this. A ruler, just in case you want to measure off, which I actually did right here for this, because you would think that the middle was a little bit further over, but this is all dead space. So we have it measured off over here. And then I usually have some of these soft sponge sanding sponges, just in case after we burnish it, which you'll see and talk about, we want to kind of sand down any of the ends of the transfers. So that's my little toolbox / repurposed utensil holder. So that works really great. So we're going to keep that with us. And I think it's important to mention, and I don't want to talk too much, I'm sure you guys want to see me actually do, not just talk, but this piece has not been sealed yet. So there's 2 kind of trains of thoughts, and again, this is kind of like our best practices and what we do here. I tend to apply the transfer and then seal it after. So there, sometimes you'll hear, seal it, apply the transfer, then seal it again. For me, I tend to apply the transfer after my paint's had some time to cure, and then we'll talk about how we seal it after we get it on there a little bit. So how you line up the transfers. So they have this great kind of grid here, and there's inch numbers here. And so if we were doing them 1, 2, 3, you could kind of measure it off to your piece. I think there's 2 kinds of people, and it depends which kind you are. There's some that follow the rules, and it's going to be exact measurements, and then there's me, and it's just like, that looks good, and it's a little bit more free-spirited. So that's really what we're going to do here is more the free-spirited, go with the flow and how it looks nice in your piece. We'll do there is some measuring. So if you guys have any questions along the way, please make sure to ask them, put them in the comments, and then at the end of the video, I'll go back and answer them all. We're pretty new to lives here, so Robin's managing the camera. I'm going to work on my project, and at the very end, we're going to answer all of your questions, okay? And definitely, please leave feedback and comments. I'd love to read it. Okay, so we talked about a little bit of measuring. So there is, in the 3 sheets that this came with, this piece is such a beautiful blue-green. I was trying to pick up some of the blues, and we didn't put one here yet because when we were looking at the piece, I wanted to get the center part on, the center focal, which has some of the blues in here, and then it'll bring out some of the whites and yellows just to give this piece a little bit more color. The yellow will look good with the gold. And then a lot of times I'll put the first piece on, step back, look at it, and then it gives me an idea where I want to put something else. So there's some dead space here. I did cut this out of, I think, the first section of the Wondrous Floral. And then with the drawer here, I was looking at, okay, the center of where the flowers are versus the center of here. And this kind of gave me some bits of measurements. So I'm sure most of you are going to be way more exact about that. So if you learn anything from me, know that you don't have to follow exact rules. You can go with what speaks to you in your piece. The key to doing this, though, is that there is a release paper on the back and then your transfer, okay? You want to make sure that you don't, stick the actual transfer part to yourself, to your pants, to your, what else have I accidentally done? So you have to make sure that you are careful and that the release paper, once you take it off, that you're putting it directly onto your piece, okay? So you can do one of two things. You can lift it up here and start to do the transfer and smooth it out, or what we're gonna do, okay. So I have my line and how I want it. I'm gonna start at one side, and I'm just gonna start to smooth it back. And as I'm going, I'm just gonna smooth it out. Using my hands. So before I even get my tool, I'm pretty close to my line. That's good. All right. So just smooth it out really well with your hands, okay? We can pop these tape off here. I like to smooth it out well with my hands before I even get a tool. Make sure it's on there. And you will notice when I have them down here, I don't want to forget to mention anything. And if I do forget to mention anything, like I said, mention it in the comments and I'll answer for you at the end. So this bottom of the flower and this bottom of the flower were between sections 1 and 2. Like we talked about, there is a break. It comes in 3 different sections. And so there was a break right here. And so that's really no problem. I have them cut out. And down here, yeah, that one's there, this one's here. And then we'll just add those, at the end. All right, so it's all smoothed out. You can, or with my hands first, and you can choose to use your tool, or you can choose to use the stick, okay? And you just want to be really careful. You want to be very gentle and conscientious not to scratch your paint. So I'm first just going to go over my whole piece. I noticed there's a little cut right here of the other pink flower, but that's actually no problem. I can actually add another leaf on top. I can try to not adhere it when I lift it, or honestly, I can lightly burnish or sand it off at the end. So no stress that there's a little extra pink on there. I noticed it. Most like you guys didn't even notice it, and that's probably a good thing. I shouldn't have mentioned it, but we'll get that fixed up. So, gosh, I'm so sniffly. I think the key, honestly, guys, is just take your time. Take your time. Right here, I can feel that is the break of the drawers. So I'm going to try to get this part of it, I'm going to use my tool and try to get this part of it to adhere. And then I have my razor blade and I'm literally going to slice right in the middle. We're asked a lot at our store, what you do when it comes to the doors or the drawers. And we're just going to go right over it. And then once we cut it, the bottom of this will kind of fold in, the top of this will fold up, and then when the doors are closed, you really won't see that break. Okay, so now what you can do is that you go to the corner. If I were to lift, see, I can see that it's starting to, if I were to lift this, it's still attached to the clear paper. So what I want to do is very slowly continue. So you see the steps, right? First I wiped it down with my hands, then I went over it with a tool, and now I'm just slowly going to lift. And just take your time. This one is they make such a, adding the transfers to these pieces of furniture, just the detail, it just adds such a pop of color. It's like a statement on your piece. So I just kind of go slowly and then each one. Now here, this is where this tool might come in handy because I have no fingernails. I'm sorry, Robin has the camera right on this so you guys can see it. I apologize for my ugly hands here. All right, so there, this is where this tool comes in handy with the little corners. When you do cut out the transfers, the nice thing is that when you have the whole big transfer, you have more to pull here. It is a little bit easier. When you go to do these side pieces, you just have to be a little bit more careful, okay? So it is always a little bit easier when you have a bigger transfer than when you have, you know, a whole big one than when you have a smaller one, like the corners here. Okay, you can see how it's starting to lift up, comes up nicely. So you just do it very, very slowly. And just keep rubbing, keep rubbing. One of the things too, just like, again, tips and tricks, things that work with us here. If you ever do, especially with these leaves and whatnot, if you ever do lift a piece of transfer sticks to your paper accidentally, and you know, you can't get it back on there, or you know, you miss a spot or whatever. The cool thing about these transfers is that you can overlap them as well. So one of the things I'm going to do with this is I'll step back after I have this on, and then take a look at the placement and the leaves and how it is. And because I cut this up to use it kind of how it fits my piece, I can always add, you know, a leaf on top of a leaf. That's something I could do with this pink area. I put another leaf right there and it'll cover it right up. Or you could put another flower. You know, we can add, you know, another flower, you know, right in someplace. And you could always add it so that you can overlap them. So that's another kind of fun thing about you know, being kind of creative with how the transfers work with your piece. Takes a little bit of time. Hopefully everyone has their morning coffee. There, you see it? Now, don't worry about the markings. Again, this piece has not been sealed. Once I seal this piece, all my fingerprints and all that will go, you know, away. Again, chalk paint is porous, so until it is sealed, it's gonna show the dust and the fingerprints and the marks. So so really it's working sections down, right? So I'm working at the top And then I'm just going down with it. Some parts take a little bit more. Some parts come right off. But I think, you know, just be very careful, you know, with your tool, and just kind of hold it at an angle. We want to make sure we don't scratch our paint. We want to make sure we don't, you know, lift without it being properly adhered. This yellow is going to be really stunning against this blue. I tend to paint quite often in blues and greens. They're probably my favorite to paint in. And with this sideboard on our store Facebook page, we had shown the sideboard before it was done and asked everybody to vote on a color. And between the store, in-store votes and the website votes, this Prussian blue was by far the winner. And ironically, it was the only blue I've never had painted with before in, you know, with the Wise Owl, and I absolutely love it. This little area is being a little bugger. Come on, guys. There we are. There. All coming together. Oh, I'm so excited. So I'm just kind of going top to bottom, watching my right to left, making sure that everything, and I go back and forth between both tools. You know, it just depends on what works. This one will come in your kit. This one, you know, is available. We have it on our store's website. We're also a brick and mortar. We carry it in store. And then these are things you can also get from your local Redesign with Prima retailer. So I tend to be slow and steady, right? Slow and steady wins the race, that's what they say. So just kind of slow and steady, making sure that it's all adheres. And you can see it, like as you're lifting, if I lift too fast and it pulls up a part of it. But not to worry, when it is on there, it is on there. And we are gonna show you how to burnish it at the very end, and then we'll talk about, you know, sealing it. All right, so we're coming to our drawer. Right there. What do I do with my example? Seeing which one's sharper. This is probably cringing because I always cut myself with something. All right, so here is our, you know what? Sometimes I want to have 2 pieces of tape. And I did that because sometimes when you cut it, if this isn't like smoothed down enough, you know, sometimes it wants to lift. And I just want to show you, like I said, these are all just kind of tips and tricks of what like works for me here. So I'm going to cut that. And then I'm literally taking my X-Acto knife, or sorry, my razor blade, going right through the middle of my drawer. Okay, there we go. So we've just broken it into 2 sections. If you don't do that, it can get, you know, it's going to want to break on its own, obviously, and you can have these like jagged edges. So this little turned in point, I'm just going to kind of smooth in. So what I was just doing is just kind of smoothing on the inside of the drawers, okay? And I'm going to do it there too. It just kind of curves itself in. My big hand's in the way. And then here we go. Progress. Soup, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So it does take, you know, some time, and that's okay. It really elevates the look of your piece. It just gives it just a little bit more detail. Like I said, I just think these pieces with the transfers just make such a statement. And then that will go right in. Voila!
We should burnish the top.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so here again, don't worry about the fingerprints. This piece hasn't been sealed. That will all, you know, go away. And then now what we're gonna do is, this was our release paper, okay? So I think the ultimate key there's a couple of them. One, you know, take your time, which, you know, we just did. We're gonna take our time. You know what, Josie, look how great this is where the hole is gonna be, and how well did that align where our hardware will go right there next to the poppy yellow. I'm excited about that. Okay, so we take our time applying it. Now, we've mentioned a couple of times, so the transfer will be sealed afterwards. So in this case, I'm gonna use the Wise Owl varnish. I tend to love the matte varnish, but there's a satin varnish as well if you like a little bit more sheen. Before you put on the varnish, you wanna make sure that you've really have burnished your piece and properly adhered it. There's really 2 reasons. One, the importance of burnishing, which I'll show you how to do with your release paper, is that any of these edges we can make, you know, disappear by burnishing. Also, you want to make sure that there's no air bubbles underneath. So once I do the transfer, and the whole transfer is on, I mean, after it's fully burnished, I could, you know, varnish this right away. But I want to make sure it's properly burnished and on there and there's no air bubbles at all. I think because of how I really took my time in getting it on there, I really don't see any air bubbles at all, but it's crucial. And again, we like to always teach in our tutorials and to our customers in the store, and here for you what we do here. And honestly guys, it's trial and error, and I absolutely have learned this the hard way. And so now I'm very careful to make sure I burnish every piece to make sure I eliminate any air bubbles, because if you don't, when you apply your varnish and it starts to you know, dry and harden, it could crack if you don't, you know, properly burnish it. Are we doing okay on top? I'm saying, I don't know. I think what we'll do is try to get this on there, and then I know we only have about a half hour or so, so I don't want to over talk. So we'll try to get this on here, and then I'll step back and take a look at the piece, and then see how this fits in play, and then how we can even, you know, do maybe one here, or maybe when we want to do a whole angled thing here. So that's the cool thing about kind of cutting them up. You can, you know, do your centerpiece, which is what this is, and then step back and see how you want to arrange the rest. But I also want to show you how you attach when there's a breaking point. So, all right, I'm getting off subject. Burnish. All right, so burnishing is just, I'm using the release paper, the white paper that came on the other side of the transfer. I'm going back over my piece. I'm looking at the edges. Again, be careful not to scrape your paint. This piece was cleaned really well with TSP. It was then wiped back with warm water. I scuffed the piece really well to give my paint something to adhere to, and I did use 2 coats of the Wise Owl primer as a prep before applying the 2 coats of my Prussian blue. So this piece has gotten properly prepped, and so my paint is definitely on there well. Nevertheless, I want to be careful. Okay, so you see how just by like going over it, you know, and then we talked about these soft sponges. So at the very end, you know, I can go back and kind of go over it very lightly here too. And don't worry about that. This piece hasn't been sealed. When I apply my varnish, that'll have its nice bright sheen. And that's normal, that'll happen. It's not damaging or changing the paint, okay? So I'm just lightly sanding along my edge there, okay? The color is definitely, the bright pop of flower and color is definitely what we need right now, but yet another snowy day. So see how we kind of went through, sliced it. Now to my bottom. Make sure this is all. You could feel a little bit of air in there, so I want to push it down. Okay, this is where I felt a little air. Put that on the floor. Alright. So when it comes to the Wise Owl products, I do, like I said, I do prefer to use their, I would use their varnish or their 1 hour enamel. They have a clear 1 hour enamel that you can use as well. So either one of those two, whether it be their water-based varnishes or their 1 hour enamel, would both be the 2 options, you know, in sealing. There it comes. Like I said, if you have any questions, definitely throw them into the comments. And then be happy to answer them. Right after we're done applying this. We do have on our Instagram page, All Aspects Restored and Recycled Instagram page, there are several pieces that we have done with using both Wise Owl paint and the Redesign with Prima transfers. Our shop is a brick and mortar as well as online, so we do carry all of the products. We do carry them in both in-store and online, and work with them daily ourselves, so can usually answer any questions based on things that we've learned through our experience. Look at that. Those colors are just so beautiful along this Prussian blue, and again, we'll add the bottom to finish it off. Some pieces, so Wise Owl has the chalk synthesis line. They also have an enamel line. I think that it's also safe to, and I've done them on the transfers on both. Because the chalk paint is very porous by nature, sometimes it does take a little bit longer to apply it onto the chalk line than it does onto like any kind of a enamel or a sheen. We, you know, here, because we're also an antique shop, we get a lot of old windows, so we've applied these transfers onto old windows, on metal. Whenever you're applying the transfer onto a little bit more of a sheen or a slicker surface, it does go on a little bit faster. So I'm just saying this so as you're watching me, you know, apply this, know that sometimes it does take a little bit longer when you're applying it to the chalk line, and you know, that's okay. Just take your time. No rush. Enjoy your coffee. I had mine. There we go. God, that blue is really great too. And this is what I was saying. You see how this lifted kind of nicely because there was a lot of the extra space. These, because of where I cut the transfer, I just want to go a little closer, and it'll be a little bit, take a little bit more of time. You can always cut this extra off if it drives you nuts as you're doing it. We're getting there.
Mention the giveaway.
Mention what?
The giveaway.
Oh, the giveaway. Thanks, Robin. In the collaboration with Wise Owl Paint and Redesign with Prima, go on both of their Facebook pages. Both companies are doing pretty amazing giveaways. Wise Owl is giving away a pretty heavy gift card. It's I think I know the amount, but I don't want to be false about it, but I know it's a pretty awesome gift card. So definitely go on the Wise Owl Paint Facebook page and register for the giveaway. In addition, go on the Redesign with Prima Facebook page, and they're also doing a giveaway of product. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. there's also this, within this collaboration, this is day 2 of 3 days of live videos from, you know, different artists showing different projects. So yesterday there was a couple of really awesome lives that are on the Redesign page that you can go back and watch, and then there'll be another one today, I believe, at noon, and there's a whole, there's 3 or 4 of them today, and then I think another 4 or 5 of them tomorrow. So definitely projects throughout the day, and if you miss any of them, you can go back and watch them on the Redesign with Prima page. Ta-da! Here we go. So it is on there, and we'll do the same thing, okay? So I'm going to go back. I want to burnish my edges with my release paper. I'm doing this for 2 reasons. 1, so that I can get rid of any of the edges, and then 2, really to make sure there's absolutely no air bubbles, so that way when I apply my varnish, there won't be, you know, any air that gets in underneath it, and then which can cause, you know, cracking. So I will spend more time burnishing and using my soft sponge before I varnish, but for the sake of time, I want to show you guys 2 more things because I have no idea what time it is. I put my phone off, and I keep looking at Robin's watch, but she doesn't have one on. So, we good? So I want to show you guys 2 more things. 1, I want to make sure you saw how all the extras that we didn't use are taped to cardboard, so that way we can use them again in the future, whether it be for this project or for another. And at the end, I'll show you some other projects. Gosh, I'm getting dirty. That we did with them, because you can absolutely reuse these on different projects. Okay, so this one transfer will do multiple projects for us, okay? Now, I want to make sure. So, because we cut the transfer and we're using pieces, this also, like I said, is on 3 sheets, and between sheet 1 and 2, these flowers were split, and that's okay. Varnished, okay. All right. So I'm going to get right in there and try to match up. I got that. All right. So what I was doing is just trying to line up. You know, the company makes it easy. They have these lines, which is good, but I'm such a visual person, and we're all different learners, right? We're all different learners on how we do things. I'm just super visual in everything I do, and for me, I was like, okay, the line of the pink to the pink, the pink to the pink. So, as long as you get it really close, guys, right? And the same process. So what I'm going to do is, because obviously we're not going to finish this whole piece for the sake of time on a live, so I wanted to make sure to show you how we adhere it. I'm going to add this probably separately off live. I'll add another piece here, and then we'll share this finished piece on the Redesign and Wise Owl page once it's all done. Okay, and then this is where not having fingernails. So we'll end up sharing this piece when it's all done, so you can see it. Like I said, I'll seal it in the Wise Owl matte varnish.
Tip of the razor blade.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Very carefully. There we go. had this conversation with my 4-year-old this morning. Reasons why you shouldn't bite your fingernails. Not being able to lift the clear backing of the transfer. Apparently another one of them. Slow and steady. There she is. All right. So again, it's a very minor line, but we'll go over it. We'll burnish this as well. And then I'm going to do that same process with this one right here. So what we're going to do, I think for the sake of time, I only want to hold you guys for so long on this, and we have to open our store because again I'm sitting on the floor of our brick and mortar here. Clearly have to sweep apparently. We're always in our work area. So I'm going to do the same process we did here with this flower here. I'll attach this here, and I think we might definitely do another one right here. Then this piece, I'll make sure everything's burnished properly. We'll get the edges with a combination of our release paper and our soft sponge, and it'll get, this is a sideboard, so it'll get some use, so 2 to 3 coats of the Wise Owl matte varnish, and then we'll add some hardware, and when it's all done, I'll show you guys. Before you go, because a lot of our segment was about how we took the Wondrous Floral 2 transfer and we cut it up as opposed to using it in full. We have a couple of examples that I just wanted to grab and show you that Robin, actually, who works here at All Aspects, who's holding our camera, has done. So she's used the, as we call them, bits and bobs, the leftovers of the Redesign with Prima transfers. We use every last one of them. We'll a lot of times combine them onto different transfers onto one project. In this case, she used them on tiles, which make for like great coasters. And then she clear coated them with the Wise Owl varnish. So you see how great, that's a great idea, right? You can make coasters out of your leftovers. I love this bucket. So this is an old metal bucket. Again, we're like an antique store. We do a lot of repurposing in here. So hence the name All Aspects Restored and Recycled. We're recycling and repurposing everything. And look at this old metal galvanized bucket. How beautiful that is with the transfers, right? Another idea. This is super cool. We were on a pic, and the woman gave my son, Ty, who was 4, this old, like old wooden guitar. It was all in multiple pieces, and Robin glued it all back together, painted it with restoration. This is restoration of Wise Owl color, and then put leftover transfers directly onto this. Other fun ideas is like suitcases, there's so many different ideas that you can use, old boxes, brick molds. So you just, frames, I mean, you can go on and on. So use your transfer. Don't be afraid to cut it up. Don't think that you have to use it all in one. You can, and it looks fabulous, and we do that plenty as well. But you definitely take the creative liberty and chop it up and use it as you want, and then save your extras and repurpose them. So we'll get this finished up, and I'll post the finished project. And again, I'm Becky with All Aspects Restored and Recycled. Make sure to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages, and make sure you go on to the Wise Owl paint page and the Redesign with Prima page, and definitely register yourself for that giveaway. All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.